And you can be the best person in the world, and you can be a realtor that guides somebody to a terrible point in life. And like, I'm getting choked up even talking about it because it's something that it is an emotional thing. Home buying, you're buying a home. And when you're guided wrong by somebody, and somebody that doesn't look like you is guiding you wrong, it feels even more disempowering to then buy a home. And so I've learned so much in, you really have to understand fully everything that you are saying, because if you don't understand it fully, you might be giving somebody a piece of information that they're going to go really mess up their life with.
Today, Make Yourself at Home has the honor and privilege of welcoming Taylor Radcliff. She is a Colorado-based real estate agent. She works with buyers and sellers in the Westminster area, also the surrounding metro as well. She's been working for the last 5 years in the real estate market, in the residential real estate market. She's helping not only reload clients, but clients navigate purchase, sales, focusing on clear communication and personalized service. Based what we've seen, she is a multi-million-dollar agent with multiple transactions, homes ranging from entry level all the way up through mid-range points. Taylor, thank you for being here today, and make yourself at home.
Thanks for having me.
So one of the things as real estate agents, there's a lot of podcasts that are realtor to realtor based, but one of the things that we try to focus on is giving the consumer as much information as we possibly can, because doing this as a first-time home buyer, even as a multiple home buyer, there's still so many fears and unrealistic practices, things that are out there that people, their expectations are just not based in reality. So what we're trying to do is give people the information that they need to make good, solid choices for their family. What do you think that most buyers and sellers are confused about in today's market?
So that is a very layered question, because I think there's so many things that people are really misunderstanding in today's market, especially. And I would say the first thing is that there is a lot of fear when it comes to asking questions. And if you don't ask the questions, then you don't know what questions to continue asking, and you don't know where to go from there. So the number one thing that I see, and I've been an agent that has grown my business on social media, and I love all of my social media clients, but there's so many people that go onto Facebook groups and they go into different group chats and they say, hey, does anybody have a realtor referral? And they get a plethora of them. And we are in the day of convenience. And so they are getting overwhelmed, and they're choosing the first name that they see, and they're using that agent, and they're not doing interviews. And unfortunately, sometimes when you do take the route of convenience, you end up working with an agent that might be new or maybe might not understand what's going on in the market. And so the number one thing that I see is that people are not doing their own due diligence in the beginning. And this truly is a team effort. And you have to want to be in control of your decisions and your future. And so that's the biggest thing, is that they think that the agent is going to take them the entire way, and that is our job, but we do it together. And so we really need to know everything that is going on in your situation, and you need to ask the hard questions so that you know that you're working with a good agent.
That's one of the things that I've seen a lot about, is that, when we're talking to clients every single day, that they're not interviewing people. And I've been doing this for a very long time. I mean, not some of, the guys that are in my office who've been doing this for 30 and 40 years, but I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years, and it still amazes me that oh, my mom told me about her best friend, her best friend's an agent, or, oh, my coworker got their license this past weekend, and, and I like them. You know, everybody knows at least 10 agents. But out of those 10, there's only 3 that they know, like, and trust that they'd be willing to do business with. Just because
If that,
yeah,
that.
yeah, just because you know somebody or know somebody's name doesn't mean they're good at what they do. So calling and asking is the very first thing. Just like you got your job through an interview, this is a team sport. Every single client that walks in our door, I tell them, I said, you're the boss. I may help you walk the legal navigations, and I may help you do all the paperwork and lead you to the right questions, but I can't answer the questions for you. And you are ultimately the boss. If somebody gives you the heaves, you walk every single time. And I'm like, if you're out on a date and somebody gives you the ick, do you stick around?
Or ghost you. If they ghost you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. How many times do we hear about communication and agents ghost? Yes.
They don't pick up their phone.
They don't answer. They don't answer texts. And I want to mention, I want to go back to the friend subject, because this is not the market to be working with a friend. I have a relocation client that wants to move to Colorado. Their house has been on the market for close to 100 days now. And he is doing his own open houses. I am helping him do his own social media ads, because the agent is somebody in the community. It's a friend. And he said that if he didn't list with him, he thought he'd put in a bad rap for him. And so this man is very seasoned. He's bought several homes. He's sold several homes. And he still is potentially making one of the biggest financial mistakes of his life, because he is working with an agent that is not working for him. He is doing the job of the agent. And so it's not, you might have friends that are really, really great agents, but you should not work with them because they are your friends. You should work with them because they are professionals. Throw the friendship cap out the door. This is not us being friends. This is me guiding you through one of the biggest financial decisions that you'll make in your life. And if we don't do it right, it's going to go poof, and the friendship goes poof too.
Well, and this gentleman you're talking about, not only is he having his friend do it, but he's paying him to do nothing, to sit on his hands.
His own open houses. His own open houses.
I have clients that I've known for years, and him and his wife, super smart people. They're pharmacists, super smart people. They were getting ready to list they had bought a house for their babysitter so they could watch their oldest 2 children. And when the babysitter, it was time for them to move on, she was 8 months pregnant, and they were going to do for sale by owner. I said, guys, y'all want to do for sale by owner? That's awesome. What are you thinking about selling the house for? And they were about $40,000 under where they needed to be. I'm like, okay, well, now you're giving away money. And then 2, who's opening the door? Somebody's going to call you and say, I want to see this house. You have an 8-month pregnant wife. You're going to allow her to open the door to somebody you don't know. And Kobe, when are you going to have time? When are you going to have time to do this? And thankfully they didn't do for sale by owner. As soon as I told them they were going to make more money, they were really happy with me. But I mean, those are things that most for sale by owners don't think about. You're about to open your door to somebody you don't know from Adam's house cat. Mm-hmm. That's the hard part. So here we are, we're trying to educate our clients. How do you educate your clients without overwhelming them?
Ooh, so slow. It's very, very slow. This market has definitely been a different struggle. Things are not moving as quickly. It's not as easy to just put a sign in the yard and it sell immediately, and you have 200 plus parties in the door for the open house. And so this market is more challenging for the real estate agent. But I love this market for my clients, because we get to slow down and really decide, where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what do we need to do to get you there? And let's see more than one home. let's talk about the home? How about you go out to dinner and really talk about your future and all the boxes that this home checks and all the boxes that it doesn't? And so this market has been more favorable for people because we're able to slow down. And so in the past, when I was trying to educate and we were just under the gun of we have to get an offer in and you have to waive the inspection and the appraisals. And if you want to get this home, you have to go $100,000 over asking. It was hard to educate because of the time constraint. And so now that we have more time on our sides, it is more conversations. I do find that some of my first time home buyers will get those wide eyes, and that's when I have to really pull back and kind of take it slower. But this is the best market for you as a buyer and seller, in my opinion, because you can really decide where you want to be and how to get it right instead of it going so quick. And I love the numbers. I love data. And so I feel like the numbers, they create a clear picture. It's no opinions. It's no, if I can put numbers in front of you, we're both talking about the same story. And so I really love to educate my clients with concessions and what is possible in this market, and also interest rate buy downs. There's so many people that think that the interest rate is set in stone, and it is not. And that's my favorite thing, to kind of be like, teaser, teaser. Hey, I bet you didn't know. And everybody that I talk to, even sellers, don't understand that they can pre-advertise a bought down interest rate so that they can compete with the builder. So I educate kind of on the ahas of there's so many possibilities in this market. You just need to understand them, and then we need to work together and ask for them. And usually in this market, you're getting what you ask for.
It's one of the greatest things that we've seen is being able to see a house more than once. I don't know about Colorado, and you will have to educate me on that area. I can educate you all you want to know about Charlotte. But it's one of the things that when we were here, and I'm a stats girl myself. I love data when it comes to being able to tell the story. Most people are like, well, why did 2021, 22 happen? How did that come about? I'm like, well, 12 years earlier in 2008, we lost, just in our area, we lost 300 builders just in the Charlotte metro region. And coast to coast, most people don't realize we lost 1 million homes per year, coast to coast, being built. So when 20 finally came around, we had about 5 to 8, and some people even speculate 10 full years of not building, or building at a much slower pace, that we lost anywhere from 5 to 10 million homes, which caused 2020. Because in the Charlotte metro region, we have to have 25,000 homes just to deal with the natives here. And that doesn't include the 157 people we have moving into our area every single day. So being able to see a home more than once, or having to bring paperwork with you and make the decision on the front lawn, that is a breath of fresh air to get rid of. I'm so thankful that the time crunch has now wound down, that
Yes.
we do have the ability to breathe. What do you think, now that the time has spread out a little bit better, what do you think that are common fears buyers are bringing into the buying process?
So, unfortunately, with the craze of 2020, 2021, and 2022, there's a lot of people that bought at the height of the market and just saw their equity get wiped out by the market correction that we had. We had about a 10% dip in the market here in Colorado, and there are a lot of people that gained quite a bit of equity in those times. And now that the market's corrected, they are overpaying on a property and they can't sell it for what they bought it for. I have a listing right now. They bought it. We are about to list it a short sale because they're going to have to walk away from about $40,000. And that's because they bought in the height of the market. And so There's a lot of people that have fears based on conversations that they're having with other people that have really had a bad experience in the market. Bad news travels so fast and word of mouth travels so fast. And so if you talk to somebody that really has a bad experience in this market or in the previous market and is telling you, I'm selling at a loss because I bought and my realtor told me all these things and it was supposed to be incredible, and now I'm walking away from a property and I'm having to pay somebody to take it from me. And so people are getting scared based off of what people are experiencing now when they're selling. We are having more foreclosures, we are having more short sales. And so there is fear because they're seeing what their neighbors are experiencing. And there is a lot of discourse and there is a lot of communication when it comes to Facebook groups and online and whatnot. So I always find that the people that have a bad experience are going to talk the loudest. And so that's getting around. So that's part of the fear. The other fear is that it's very unaffordable in Colorado. It's a destination state. Everybody wants to live here. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love living in Colorado, but you have to pay for it. And so homes are still very, very expensive. And so there's a lot of people that actually are misinformed and feel that we're going to have another market crash because of 2008, 2009, 2010. And that's just inaccurate. We had a market correction. We will not have a market crash. There are so many rules and regulations that are in place to keep that from happening. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are blinded by their fear blinders and are not open to finding other information. And so it goes back to that. You have to be asking the questions for yourself. If you hear from somebody that the market just crashed and they lost all their equity and now is a terrible time to buy, that's not true. You have to ask your own questions. You have to reach out to a professional and you have to see the options, the solutions, creative solutions that are available for you, especially in the state of Colorado, because we are in a buyer's market. So there's a lot of fears. And I think it truly has to do with the dissatisfaction that people have had in the previous market.
You are extremely, you're right on target, because it is one of the big things. We are seeing more foreclosures. We are seeing more short sales. Now, the ones that are coming typically aren't because of buying in the heart of the market. One of the great things about Charlotte, Charlotte isn't necessarily a destination city. We don't have beaches. We do have mountains, but the mountains are the resort, just like y'all are. But most people are moving here for a job. So our economy is really good. If we're seeing short sales, it's because they haven't been in the home for very long. That they may have bought, at the tail end of the market, or like I have a short sale right now. The home is a unicorn. It's 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 6,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
That was built in the 1960s. Doesn't usually happen. Yeah, that doesn't usually happen. It was built on and built on and built on. And so in the area that it's in, there's not a lot of need for that. So it's this one little, sore thumb in the neighborhood that, of course, there's not a huge market for. So you really have to get somebody specialized. But with so much on social media and so many people screaming, I mean, even with us talking, it's, screaming into the void,
Yes.
trying to get them out there going, just because one person, had a really bad experience doesn't mean that you'll have that bad experience. We have to make this extremely granular for you, because real estate is very personal. And that's one of the things that I think you and I share, that how clear communication changes everything. If you're clear on expectations, setting, realistic expectations, or even just communicating, we're going to talk daily, we're going to talk weekly, or you're going to hear from me, and you set that up for them, it takes away a lot of that fear that you see the neighbor instilled in them, or God forbid, the news has instilled in them, and especially the first time home buyers, I don't know if your area, but they just said here recently that first time home buyers their ages have jumped from 28 to 38 just in the last
38.
5 years, just in the last 5 years.
38. And so part of the problem too, which is so unfortunate because you have to give people an opportunity to get into a business and learn. But part of the problem is that we do have a lot of lead sources like Zillow and all of these platforms where you can go online and you can put in your information and you feel like you are working with the local market expert. When in fact, and I was that agent when I started my first month in the business. I was getting Zillow leads that I had no business working with. I had no business working with them. I did not have the education that I needed to. The brokerages need to start providing a client experience to their agents so that the agents can go provide a great experience to their clients. And so, unfortunately, when we talk about the public being very misinformed, we have so many agents that are getting into the business that were the public a month ago. And so they are misinformed as well. And so we have all of these different solutions and marry the house, date the rate, worst advice ever. And that's what is really getting people into these foreclosure situations in Colorado. You had a lot of agents that were recommending a 2-1 buy down, a 3-2-1 buy down instead of a permanent rate buy down. And so what happens is people were really, it's shiny object syndrome. They said, wow, a $2,000 payment, that's incredible. Well, after 2 years, that $2,000 payment goes up to the current market rate. And so their payments are just jumping significantly, and they were not educated to think ahead and future plan. Is the monthly payment something that you can afford? Everybody is getting a pre-approval amount, and you have agents that are saying, oh my goodness, we're approved to this amount, and they're searching that or higher. The pre-approval amount does not matter at all. I don't care what you're pre-approved for. I care what your maximum monthly budget is. And then we match it to the purchase price. Because if you are uncomfortable in the payment that that house is going to give you, you're going to end up selling, or you're going to be house poor. And in Colorado, it's really, really difficult to enjoy yourself here and be house poor because there's so many things that require payment. And so there's so much misinformation that is unfortunately being given by professionals in the business as well. And so I really feel like we need to have like a coming to in the industry of we ourselves need to make sure that the education that we are spitting out on social media is good education, because if not, it can leave someone in such a bad situation. And the marry the house, date the rate, it's buzzy. Wow, I'm going to get to marry my perfect house and I'm going to just date that interest rate. It's not forever. And a lot of people are looking at a forever high interest rate right now because we're not going to see interest rates back at 2%.
Oh God, no. I mean, and oh yeah. I mean, most of people, especially my oldest, is buying his first house. Now, for the last 5 years, all I've heard was, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. I'm never going to be able to afford to buy a house. And I'm like, yes, you will. Yes, you will. You just have to be patient. But interest rates are so high because those kids who are now 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 saw as they were growing up 2, 3, 4, when they started paying attention to interest rates, they were all single digits. They are still single digits. And so when most people don't know the average interest rate over the life that they've been paying attention to interest rates has been 6.4%. And today it is I think last night when I saw it, it was 6.09. That is a good interest rate because it's less than the average. But to be able to get to 2, 3, and 4%, when we hit those numbers, it said it was the first time since World War II. That was 1940. That was 80 years ago that it hit, and mind you, it was 2010, 2011, 2012, but still, that was 70 years ago at that point. So if it hadn't been 2% for 70 years, why do you think it'll be 2% again? And it took something catastrophic for us to get there. So yeah, the sellers right now, the 2-1 buy down, okay, well, we'll make it attractive. I'm like, but if the 2-1 buy down, you're paying their interest for those 2 years, because that's what sellers are doing. Why not look at, okay, what's a permanent buy down cost? Because a permanent buy down will probably not cost as much, or it'll cost only a little bit more, depending on everybody's situation, because credit makes a huge difference in that aspect as well.
And what I love in this market is that it's the seller is contributing the concession to buy down the interest rate. It's something that you can ask for. And it goes back to that, the for sale by owners leaving money on the table. There's so many first-time home buyers that are leaving so much money on the table because they're saying, I don't want to get into the market right now because of the high interest rates, but the homes will continue to appreciate. Everything's going to continue to go up. And when you enter the market, everybody else is going to enter the market as well. And the housing prices go up because the demand goes up. So right now, it's the perfect time because nobody knows this. Nobody knows this. And it's so interesting to see all of the misinformation come out, and then to think back 5 years ago and say to myself, wow, I believed all of that too. I thought that I had to have a 20% down payment, and that is unattainable. You want me to have $100,000 for a $500,000 home? Oh, I'm never going to buy a home. And I think that that's the lens that a lot of people are moving forward on. And it goes back to, you have to reach out to somebody that actually knows how to do this, because you don't. And we're very happy to educate you and to provide solutions and possibilities.
This is the whole key on why personalization matters. Because like I said, this is granular. It doesn't matter what Mr. Smith bought his house for. It doesn't matter what your dad bought his house for or anything else. It's about you. It's about, what did I've saved up, this amount of money. Okay, well, okay, so I have this for my down payment. Well, do you need to use it all? Is it smart to use it all? Or should you plan on making one extra house payment a year with your tax return, and you can save 4 to 6 years off of your mortgage? And most people don't think about that. And that's what a local real estate agent needs to be able to tell you is, do you know that for every $1,000 you put down, and how long does it take you to save $1,000? It only takes $5 to $7 off of your payment.
Right.
I'm like, if somebody told me, okay, here's $1,000, and we'll give you $1,000, but it only shows up as one, there's a discrepancy there.
And the time, you're right, the time that you spent saving up on a down payment. Something that I do want to mention, Colorado specifically, we do have CHFA, which is the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, and they do down payment assistance. And so it's really, really great for people. You can get into a home with as little as $1,000, and the state will pay the remaining amount. I've had a client get in to a $560,000 home. They brought like $3,000 to the closing table, and the state gave them 22 grand. So really, really great for them. But there's also a product from CHFA that is a second mortgage. And so that second mortgage, you have to pay it off before you refinance. And so there's so many things that are like, it's available for you, but you really need to do the future planning, because if you are going to try to refinance, are you going to be able to basically come up with a down payment in order to refinance? And if the answer is no, we should really look at what it looks like to get a grant, or see if there's different programs where the lender's willing to contribute, or see if there's a seller that's willing to contribute closing costs and get you into a situation where you not only have a lower interest rate right now, but you also don't have to pay that second mortgage off when you sell. And unfortunately, things do happen. And so if you're one of those people that ends up having to sell or move states, or somebody unfortunately passed away in 2 years, you're going to be looking at a really hefty bill at the end of closing because you have to pay that second mortgage off and all the fees that come with selling a home. So it's all, the education is so important. And I think it's a happy medium between overwhelming people, because there's that point where if you do overwhelm someone, they kind of turn off and shut down, and they think, wow, I don't understand this, and so it must not be attainable for me. And so you're right, the personalization is so important, because there's going to be people that don't really need much education, and then there's going to be those people that really want you to hold their hand, and both situations are important.
That's one of the things. North Carolina has something similar, our housing finance agency as well. The one great thing is ours, and it's another question to ask, is it gets wiped off after you've lived there for 15 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
so after you've been there for 15 years, every year they take 20% off. So you only have to live there for 15 years total. So at year 10, they take 20% off each year. But how do you make your first time home buyers feel prepared instead of pressured?
So it really depends on the scenario. There's some people that reach out and they want to buy a home in a month. And that's a situation where I do set the expectation at the beginning. This is going to go very quickly. And there's going to be times where you feel very overwhelmed because of how quickly things are moving forward. And so I'm going to update you. I am going to reach out. But if you feel any fear or cold feet, or you have any questions, please reach out to me, because that's what I'm here for. So in those situations, unfortunately, I think that with the added stress and the time constraint, they almost feel kind of like they don't understand the whole thing the whole time, because there just is that added stress of I'm moving as quick as possible. So the people that have a time constraint, unfortunately, we try to move through the process as soon as possible. And so they might feel like it is going very quickly. But I always recommend for my first time home buyers to reach out to me a year to maybe even 2 years before they're ready to buy a home, because I had a situation where I checked my credit for some reason, and my Wells Fargo, I had been making my credit card payment, and they misreported 13 in a row missed credit card payments, and my credit dropped significantly. And I reached out to my bank and they said, I'm so sorry. We'll go ahead and call the bureaus and dispute it. And they did. And it still took 45 days for it to reflect. And so I always tell people, we need to get you in to see the lender, to do all the documentation, to get all of your information as soon as possible, because you're at point A, you want to get to point C, and we need to know everything that you need to do in the meantime in order to get you there. And if you're coming to me a month before you need to be there and you have something wrong on your credit, we don't even have the time for it to reflect on the credit bureaus. And so it's time. Time is really going to be on your side in this process. You want to reach out as soon as possible so that you also have the time to interview agents. A lot of people that are reaching out with a time constraint are finding the first person that they see on Facebook, and then they're just going with that agent. And I hear time and time and time again, I wish I would have known you when I was buying my home. I wish I would have known you when I was buying my home. And I'm not the only good agent in Colorado. There's a lot of us. They just needed to do their due diligence and ask the questions, because once you start asking an uneducated agent questions, you'll see that they are uneducated, because it doesn't feel like you are in a good place. It doesn't feel like this person is taking you along the journey. You leave with more questions. And so this is a job. This is our job. And so you should interview realtors so that they can get the job. You need to be the boss, like you said, and really take control and get in the driver's seat so that you can be in control of where you end up in your future. We're always happy to help, but I think if you work with the wrong agent, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's what it is. This can be the best experience of your financial life, or it could be the worst experience. And it's all about who you work with and the positioning. And time is always going to be on your side when it comes to positioning. So
As
all of
long as
that,
you, as
I
long as
recommend.
you, yeah,
Yeah,
as long as
yeah.
you give yourself that time.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. You want to reach out earlier because even if you think that you're not ready to buy, reach out. That's what we're here for. We're here to educate you and guide you through the process. And so I think a lot of people feel a burden almost like they're wasting somebody's time if they're not necessarily ready to buy right now. And that's not it at all. I would rather you reach out earlier and be educated and us to keep in touch and really get you positioned accurately instead of, hey Taylor, I need to buy a house in a month or I'm renting for another year. And it's like, okay, we've got a lot to do then. So time is always going to be your friend in real estate.
it really is. How do you help a buyer deal with decision fatigue?
So I try to limit the decisions. There are people that I will talk to. I worked on leadership for KW for like a year and a half. And so I worked with agents and heard a lot of the grievances that agents in the market are dealing with. And one of them is that we've seen 200 houses. And I think to myself, 200 houses are not a fit. You need to see a max, absolute max of 20 homes. There's never going to be more than 20 homes that is going to work for a buyer. And so they need to not be given so much control. When it comes to looking at homes, it is your job as the professional to say, based on the conversations that we've had, this is a no. We're not going to see this. Based on the conversations we've had, based on your commute, this is an hour commute and you wanted to be 30 minutes. I don't care what the house looks like. You're going to end up selling because you're an hour away when 30 minutes was the absolute max. And so when it comes to looking at homes, I definitely rein that in because they don't need to be looking at everything. And that starts to get overwhelming. When you see 200 homes, you don't remember what the first to 175th look like. You have no recollection of what those homes look like. Showing tours. I don't do more than 6 to 7 homes in a day because you forget what they look like. And so really tailoring that to, I'm going to put you in front of the homes that are going to work, and then we're going to make a decision from there. When it comes to the inspection, they're more than welcome to attend this inspection if they want. I prefer that they give the inspector a couple hours to do his job and then come at the end so that they can ask questions. And so leaning on my experts that I work with. I'm not an inspector. And so to help with the decision fatigue, I'm going to pull in my inspector that is the expert in radon testing because he's been doing radon for 10 years. And we're going to talk to him about what he recommends as a professional. And so really leaning on everybody that makes the transaction get to the closing table helps with the decision fatigue because they really feel like they are being supported by a team and not just told by me, this is what you should do. Let's go ahead and do this. They truly feel like they are being supported. They have a foundation, a team that's working for them. And there's not a lot of decisions when it comes to real estate. In inspection, if the sewer is bad, structural, if there's any safety issues or sanitary, that's what we want to look out for. But any minor cosmetic things that you can fix, things that are about to go out, the seller isn't going to fix things in a home that they're selling. And so setting the expectations of, you are going to be a homeowner, and part of keeping up your home is going to be fixing the things that you want to fix as you continue. And so really educating them on in our inspection objection, we're going to ask for the big items. We're going to ask for the big ticket costs that are going to be a pain for you to fix and that are actually broken right now. When it comes to appraisal, we make sure that we do our due diligence on the numbers before we submit an offer. So we are not 100% sure, but I am 99.9% sure on all of my offers that they're going to appraise, because we're not offering crazy over asking, and we're making sure that we're doing analysis on the valuations of these homes before we're putting in an offer. So it's really easy to say, hey, this home didn't appraise. The seller does need to meet us where it appraised, but that's truly not happening. I haven't seen that for the last couple of years. Everything is appraising because we are doing our due diligence. Title, if there's an issue with title, the seller needs to fix it, or they're not selling their home. After that, loan documentation, the lender is going to be handling that. So I don't really have to do too much in that field. And I do work with a lot of lenders that work with first-time home buyers, so they make sure to educate them and keep it slow. But a lot of buyers think that they have a lot of decisions to make. And once you find the home, there's not a lot of decisions to make. It's a very quick process. And oftentimes we're at the closing table and they say, wow, that's it. I'm a homeowner now. And it's like, yeah, that's it. That's the process. You just want to make sure that you're guided so that you don't feel that you're making all those decisions alone, because that's where the fatigue comes in places. I don't have somebody that's guiding me. I don't have a team that I trust. And I feel like I have to do all of this information on my own. And then I feel like I have to call my dad for questions, and he adds a whole nother level of issues to the problem. So you want to make sure that you're working with a team that can guide you so that you're not getting fatigued, because when you're in the market consistently, you're able to kind of foresee problems, and that's important having in your team.
What lessons did you learn your first few years that shaped how you work with clients now?
So I've loved marketing in this business. It's been so fun. Even doing this podcast is something that is going to help grow my business. And so I love all the different facets of things that I can do, creative things that I can do to help grow my real estate business. And the first opportunity that I was given my first year in real estate was to do a free booth at a Busta Rhymes concert in downtown Denver. And I had VIP tickets, and it was so fun. There were so many after parties, and the information that we were sharing there was on a down payment assistance program that is targeted towards people of color. And when you look at the information on this program, it talks very heavily on do something that your ancestors never could, and this is your opportunity to build generational wealth. And it's it hits your heartstrings if you are the target audience that they are talking to. And when you look into the program further, they give you up to $40,000. If you sell, you have to pay it back plus 5% of the value of the home at the time that you sell. It honestly gives me chills just talking about this. So this program is targeting people that don't have money for a down payment, and it's getting them excited based on emotional ties to their ancestors to get into a financial decision that they're not going to get out of. And so that it breaks my heart, because it's the worst information that you can have, because if you foresee it and you're able to pay that off, fine. But my experience is the people that are getting down payment assistance don't have the money to pay it off. And when you're giving somebody $40,000 and then attaching a 5% fee to the value of the home, at $500,000, that's an average $25,000. So that just turned into 65 grand. And when is that person ever going to be able to pay that off? And you want to know what they're doing? They're getting into a situation like that, and then they're sharing with their community. You can be part of this too. Our ancestors never had this, and they're being misinformed. And so that was the biggest lesson that I have ever learned in my career, because I was somebody that was promoting information that I thought was a good thing to promote. And when I looked into it further and really read all of the details, I was like, I'm absolutely appalled that I even put my name in front of this. Like, this is absolutely awful. And nobody ever went through with the program that I have worked with. I've gotten people into Chaffa instead, but there are people that don't understand what they're getting people into, and they're part of the problem. And you can be the best person in the world, and you can be a realtor that guides somebody to a terrible point in life. And like, I'm getting choked up even talking about it, because it's something that it is an emotional thing. Home buying, you're buying a home, and when you're guided wrong by somebody, and somebody that doesn't look like you is guiding you wrong, it feels even more disempowering to then buy a home. And so I've learned so much in, you really have to understand fully everything that you are saying, because if you don't understand it fully, you might be giving somebody a piece of information that they're going to go really mess up their life with. And that's just something that I don't ever want to be a part of. I've seen people really, really end up in bad situations. There's a woman that moved from North Carolina, and she spent $600,000 over asking on her home in Boulder. And her agent, again, as a buyer, you do have to do your due diligence, but her agent told her that she would be able to Airbnb it and Verbo it. And it's a private HOA. And they told her, if you don't stop renting it out on Airbnb, we're going to sue you for every single dollar that you've made. And she bought that home with her divorce money. So she sold at a $400,000 loss after 8 months. 8 months. She has divorce money. She's not going to get a job. She moved to Boulder to have a life and to start over. And now she's looking at a $400,000 loss over a home that she loved. She loved this home, and you have to leave it after 8 months, and you paid a realtor, and you paid all these fees, and now you're paying again to sell the home. It's, if you are guided wrong, it it can be the worst mistake that you make. And so again, you have to make sure that you are confident in who you're working with, and that you are doing your due diligence. Because if you say, hey, is this home available for renting? Yeah, it's available for renting. I would question that. I would question that. You want your agent to search for information and to provide you with information, not to just be answering questions blindly.
I want to see the HOA docs. I want to be able to say, and we provide all of those every time we do this. But yeah, I sat with, in the early in my career, I got started in 2008. I sat with almost 3 dozen families. I cried at dinner room tables with them, because I'm just like Dolly Parton is. No one cries alone in my presence. You
Mhm.
know, I sat at dining room tables with people who were like, we were wanting to get in a house, and I was young and stupid and almost bought one of those homes. Thankfully, God put me in a different place, but it's one of those things that if you don't watch, and if you don't make sure that you have somebody who has your back and who is pointing out the things, okay, you want to do an Airbnb, you want to do a short-term rental is what we call them. Can you do that? Will your HOA allow that? That's one of the things that it means to build a team, and that's what you're doing. How do you balance efficiency with personalized service as an agent?
I'm still learning how to do that. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm still learning how to do that. I'm such a people person that my first listing appointment I ever had, I was at the property for over 6 hours, because she made me homemade gluten-free gnocchi, and we picked blackberries in the backyard, and she made homemade ice cream, and we had a ball. So I have a slight problem titrating between the like, oh my gosh, I'm such an I on the disc profile. Like, I'm going to be your friend. I'm going to be your best friend. We're going to have a party. And so with my sellers, it's easy because they really have somewhere to go and it is more high pressure. You know, they really want to get to the finish line. And so that's easier for me to be efficient. But with the YouTube channel, I have a lot of people that call and want to talk about how great Colorado is. And so I find myself not being efficient on my personalized care on that because I just want to talk and talk and talk. And I do think it's what's brought me to where I am in my business because I'm starting to get more referral business. And in this industry, it's all about how you make people feel. And so if you can make them, they forget I've talked to people that have bought a home just a couple years ago and they forget the entire process because they don't really care about that. They just want to feel good. And so if you can make people feel good, then that's what keeps them coming back to you. But on the efficiency, I don't think I have that down yet. I definitely need to get it down, but it's a little bit difficult to do because I truly I I love my clients. I want to see them grow. And I love to see the weddings and the pregnancies and the new dogs. And so I definitely invest quite a bit into the personal relationships in my business. And so it's not very efficient, but I do find that I am filling up my cup and I am now hanging out with my friends that were clients. So I need to get better at that, but I don't know if I've got I
Eight,
don't know.
18 years later, I'm still doing the same thing. I just sent out a baby frame because we have a brand new baby in our family, and they're family to me. Everybody, I've worked with over 300 clients. And I mean, I've done millions upon millions upon millions, and it's just they're family. And we have family pictures once a year because that's my thank you. That's my client appreciation. I do family portraits, and it gets everybody dressed up. I get to see everybody and you get a picture from it. And there's nothing better than that.
My favorite final walkthrough that I ever did, I had a divorce client that had a really nasty breakup with his wife, and he was going to get custody of his daughter. She was really not being friendly to the daughter either. And so it was really heartbreaking to see this man really have to show up and be a rock for his child. And he told me that his main goal was that he was going to be in a house by Christmas so that his little girl could have a Christmas tree and they could play board games. And so for the final walkthrough, I called the seller and I called the listing agents and I was like, hey, is it cool if I go in beforehand? I want to decorate the home with lights and a Christmas tree. And it was August. And so he comes into the house and he just breaks down crying on the ground. And I'm like, yes, this is what it's about. Yes, this is what it's about. But that's what it's about. Like I'm so grateful that I'm able to provide that. And it's through the personalized touch. And the house that he got into is not the house that he wanted. He settled on a home so that he could get into a home by Christmas. We really had to work it out with his budget. And so it wasn't about the home. It was about everything that it was going to be. And so I love the personalized touch because I really think that it starts a new chapter for people. What an incredible experience to have. I love living life in experiences. I want to live the best experiences and I want to provide people the best experiences that come into my circle. And so what an incredible experience. It should only be that.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Life is made up of the moments that take your breath away. And that's what, and it's not about a home. It's not about the box you're getting ready to live in. It's about the life you're putting in the box. Mm-hmm. All right. So last question. What advice would you give consumers who are feeling nervous about making the moves right now?
So I say this, and I'm somebody that gets my business from everybody that asks those questions on Facebook and on the social media platforms. But don't do that. Do not reach out to people that have no investment in your future. It's so easy to recommend somebody and to scroll on past, and you don't really care if that person has a good experience or not. I've had situations where people that do not know me have recommended me as a realtor to people that have asked on social media, and it's because they see me consistently showing up, but they have not worked with me. They don't know if I do a good job. They haven't even talked to me on the phone. And so the best thing that you can do as a consumer is to not ask a question in a way that you're going to be overwhelmed. You should start doing your research based on what you're looking for. If you're trying to relocate, if you're trying to downsize, maybe you have a probate situation. You should be working with the probate specialist in that area, not the relocation specialist in that area. And so you want to get very specific and clear yourself on what your situation is and what you're looking to do, so that then you can match up with the best agent for the job. And again, you want to be the boss in this situation. You want to hire somebody, and that is going to entail interviews. And there's so much that you can learn from somebody on an interview. I know my first couple presentations that I did for listings, I walked away and was like, I have a lot to learn. I have a lot of things to get better at. And so you can really do a lot of information. You can get a lot of information by speaking to somebody and having them come over to your home, or maybe you meet them at a coffee shop and you ask them questions, and then you watch their body language and how they respond, and if they stutter or if they can't answer the question, or if they can and they can provide you a clear path forward and recommend different partners and professionals along the way, and really make you feel like you are about to enter into a great experience and one that is guided, then you should work with that agent.
Taylor, thank you so much for all your time today. It was a pleasure having you. We do have all your socials. All your socials will be on this podcast. We will also put it out. So if you're in the Denver metro area, the Westminster area specifically, Taylor Ratliff is there. Thank you so much again for being here, and I so appreciate your time.
Thank you. This was such a lovely conversation.
Thanks for joining me on Make Yourself at Home. I hope you found insights and inspiration to help you navigate your real estate journey with confidence. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share this show with your friends, because everyone deserves to feel at home. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and keep making moves that matter.